Down the river. Before leaving, Tally wrote a letter to herself. It was Maddie's idea to put her consent in writing. That way, even as a pretty, unable to comprehend why she would ever want her brain fixed, Tally could at least read her own words and know what was about to happen. "Whatever makes you feel better," Tally said. "As long as you cure me, no matter what I say, don't leave me like Shay." "I'll cure you, Tally, I promise. I just need written consent." Maddie handed her a pen and a small, precious piece of paper. "I never learned penmanship," Tally said. "They don't require it anymore." Maddie shook her head sadly and said, "Okay, you dictate and I'll write it." "Not you. Shay can write it for me. She took a class back when she was trying to get to the smoke." Tally remembered the scrawl of Shay's directions to the smoke, clumsy but readable. The letter didn't take long. Shay giggled at Tally's heartfelt words, but she wrote them down as directed. There was something earnest in the way she put stylus to paper, like a littlie learning how to read. When they were finished, David still hadn't come back. He'd taken one of the hoverboards in the direction of the ruins. As she put away her things, Tally kept glancing at the window, hoping he would return. But Maddie was probably right. If Tally saw him again, she would just talk herself out of this. Or maybe David would stop her. Or worse, maybe he wouldn't. But no matter what David said now, he would always remember what she had done, the lives she had cost with her secrets. This was the only way Tally could be certain that he had forgiven her. If he came to rescue her, she would know. "So let's get moving," Shay said when they were done. "Shay, I'm not going to be gone forever. I'd rather you... Come on, I'm sick of this place." Tally bit her lip. What was the point of giving herself up if Shay was coming too? Of course, they could always snatch her away again as well. Once the cure was proven to work, they could give it to anyone. Or everyone. "The only reason I've been hanging around this dump is to try and get you to come back," Shay said, then lowered her voice. "You know, it's my fault you're not already pretty. I messed everything up by running away. I owe you." "Oh, Shay." Tally's head began to spin. She closed her eyes. "Maddie always says I can go any time. You don't want me to go back all alone, do you?" Tally tried to imagine Shay hiking to the river alone. "No, I guess not." She looked at her friend's face and saw a spark in her eyes, something real ignited by the idea of going on a trip with Tally. "Please, we'll have a blast in New Pretty Town." Tally spread her hands. "Okay, I guess I can't stop you." They rode together on one hoverboard. Croy came along on another to take the boards back when they reached the city's edge. He didn't talk the whole way down. The other new Smokies had all heard the fight outside and finally knew what Tally had done. It must have been worse for Croy. He had suspected, and she'd lied to him face to face. He was probably wishing he had stopped Tally himself before she had a chance to betray them all. When they reached the Greenbelt, though, he forced himself to look at her. "What did they do to you, anyway, to make you do something like that?" "They said I couldn't turn until I'd found Shay." He looked away, staring at the lights of New Pretty Town, bright in the clear cold of a November night. "So you're finally getting your wish." "Yeah, I guess." "Tally's going to be pretty," Shay said. Croy ignored her and looked at Tally again. "Thanks for rescuing me, though. That was some trick you guys pulled. I hope that..." He shrugged and shook his head. "See you later." "I hope so." Croy stuck the boards together and headed back up the river. "This is going to be the best," Shay said. "I can't wait for you to meet all my new friends. And you can finally introduce me to Paris." "Sure." They walked down toward Uglyville until they found themselves in Cleopatra Park. The earth was hard underneath their feet in the late autumn chill, and they huddled close against the cold. Tally wore her smoke-made sweater. She'd wanted Maddie to keep it for her, but she'd left her microfiber jacket behind instead. City-made clothes were too valuable to waste on someone going back to civilization. "You see, I was already getting popular," Shay was saying. Having a criminal past is the only way into the really good parties. I mean, no one wants to hear about what classes you took in ugly school. She giggled. We should be a hit then. Duh! When we tell everyone about your kidnapping me right out of Special Circumstances headquarters and how I talked you into escaping from that band of freaks? But we're going to have to tone it down, Squint. No one's ever going to believe the truth. No, you're right about that. Tally thought of the letter she'd left with Maddie. Would she even believe the truth in a few weeks' time? How would the words of a fugitive, desperate, tragic ugly look through pretty eyes? For that matter, what was David going to look like after she had been surrounded by new pretty faces 24 hours a day? Would she really believe all that stuff about ugliness again? Or would she remember how someone could be beautiful even without surgery? Tally tried to picture David's face, but it hurt to think of how long it would be before she saw him again. She wondered how long it would take after the operation, before she would stop missing David. It might be a few days before the lesions completely took hold of her, Maddie had warned. But that didn't mean it was her own mind changing itself. Maybe if she decided to go on missing him no matter what, Tally could keep her mind from changing. Unlike most people, she knew about the lesions. Maybe she could beat them. A dark shape passed overhead, a warden's hover car, and Tally instinctively froze. The city uglies had said there were more patrols out these days. The regular authorities had finally noticed that things were changing. The hover car halted, then settled softly onto the earth next to them. A door slid open and a blinding light popped on. All right, you kids. Oh, sorry, miss. The light was on Shay's face. Then it flicked across to Tally. What are you two? The warden's voice stumbled. Didn't this beat everything? A pretty and an ugly taking a stroll together? The warden came closer, confusion all over his middle pretty face. Tally smiled. At least she was causing trouble until the end. I'm Tally Youngblood, she said. Make me pretty.